Good afternoon. My name is Patrick. I am a service manager at Care First. Today I'm going to be going through a webinar with you about communication during lockdown with family, friends, and colleagues. I'm going to go through a couple of things in ways we can communicate and what to bear in mind whilst doing so. There's going to be an option for me to answer some questions you may have, so please do feel free throughout the presentation to write any questions you may have in the questions tab on your controls. You'll be able to submit them anonymously, and I'll answer them at the end if I can. But just as a sort of preface to that, I'm not a counsellor, so if there's any questions I can't answer, I'll endeavour to get back to you as soon as I can. So moving into the PowerPoint. So yes, communication during lockdown with family, friends, and colleagues, which we're all experiencing right now. Question: why is it important to stay connected during such a time? Obviously, at the moment, we're all experiencing the issues with COVID-19 pandemic, being on lockdown, and have been restricted quite a lot socially. So interacting with people is generally good for our mental health for a number of reasons, which I'm going to go through below. So supporting each other through stressful times, a stressful time which is now. A lot of people could be staying at home on their own, and stresses can get on top of people if they're not socially connected. So being able to get in touch with someone and help alleviate some of those concerns, or sort of make people feel less stressed by having a discussion with them can always help. Sort of rolls into the next point, sharing issues to help alleviate concerns. So as I said, if there's a sharing, an issue shared is an issue halved. What can happen during lockdown anyway is that issues can become more intense due to lack of social connections, and build up. So sharing those issues with whether you've got someone to share with, friends, family, or anybody else for that matter, whether it's Care First, can help reduce the concerns you may have surrounding that issue. Also, being in touch with people also helps be reminded of the positive things in life during these hard times. It's very easy to be surrounded by negative news, but also having that communication with people, be reminded of the positivity, whether that's a funny video or a funny story, or celebrating someone's birthday or a success, or a long list of things which can positively impact your life during these times. Also, the obvious one, it reduces feelings of loneliness. Now, some of us may be on lockdown in a house with family or friends, some may be on their own. So reaching out to people and having that conversation and supporting each other can reduce feeling of loneliness, which helps us with our mental health in general. So there's various different types of communications which we can explore now with the advances in technology. More than ever, we are connected with each other from all around the world. So various things that we can use. So the good old-fashioned texting and messaging, which you can use on your phone as a standard, or there's various apps, so WhatsApp, Facebook, Skype, there's a whole list of different apps and programs out there that will allow you to text people. Most of the time, these apps will also allow you to voice call and video call as well. So voice calling and video calling are more popular now during these times of lockdown and the COVID-19 pandemic, for a few various reasons, which I'll go through the pros and cons of each one in the following slides. Voice calls, much easier, much quicker, and video calling as well. You get to see that person's face. So that's more and more popular, both in social circumstances down in professional work circumstances. Social media, bit of a controversial one, has a bit of a stigma to it, can obviously by all means be detrimental to mental health, but in times like these can also have a positive impact and remind you of some of the funnier things in life as well. Others include, which I won't go into too much detail in the following slides, but others can include online games and gaming. So whether that's in a console or a computer, it might not be your thing, but some people may find that that can be quite a social experience, being able to talk to people, because 9 times out of 10 there'll be a chat option to speak with other players, and also share that sort of excitement over a mutual interest. Letters and cards probably sent more for the sentimental side of things, letters especially, but cards, although difficult to get to the shop and buy a card to send off, cards can be also sent via various websites which allow you to create a custom card and send that off, which is a lovely gesture. If it's someone's birthday or they need to celebrate something, whether it's a new job or a baby or so on and so forth, cards are a lovely way of showing a lovely gesture. Gifts as well. Now you can buy most things off the internet now, and 9 times out of 10 you will also be able to add a note or a letter to those gifts. I think there's been a bit of a social campaign recently to be sending gifts to people as a bit of pick-me-up. So sending something along in the post, just a little gift with a note on can really brighten up someone's day. There's also a lot of forums around which maybe don't require you to be logging in your social media and be exposed on a personal level. You can sort of create an account and chat about various topics. One of the popular platforms for that is Reddit, and there's more where you can come together with people and discuss various things of interest. So it's just a way of engaging with people and talking. So going into texting, emailing, and messaging, just to run through a few things that is and the reason why they're quite good. So sending a message isn't too time consuming. So the amount of time it takes to write a message, if you're familiar with writing text messages, is not very long at all. At most, it could take you 5 minutes to send a message. At least it could take. So it's not time consuming in a couple of aspects. That's that one. The second aspect is that it doesn't mean that you have to get involved in a long conversation with someone. So you can write a message, you can send it, you can receive a response, and you can respond to that message when it suits you best. So if you just want to have a conversation with someone over a couple of days, you can. It can span that time. So it's better in that sense because you have more control over the time that you need to put into that conversation. When sending a message, just to stay in touch, it doesn't necessarily have to be a long message. It can be a short message, just hey, just checking in, or hey, how are you? And that can be enough to brighten up someone's day. I mean, how nice would it be to just receive a message from someone you haven't spoken to for a little while, just touching in. These small mementos that come through, it can be very nice to receive. So just bear that in mind as well when you're sending messages out as well. One of the downsides to emailing or messaging is that it can often be misread. So what you're saying needs to be, you need to consider it as being, it needs to be clear and concise with what you're trying to say. So things like, for example, sarcasm isn't often well received over text or message because it's not that, and it can create some confusion there. As well, in a workplace scenario, if you're communicating with a colleague via message and you're sending messages and it's misunderstood, you can often create more work than is required. So just to bear that in mind. Some people will find it easier to express themselves and their emotions in writing than during a conversation. Now, it's quite a common thing. During a conversation, if someone's expressing how they feel, if they're talking face to face with someone, their emotions can often come out in a way that they can't really communicate as accurately as they'd like, and it can often be misunderstood with how they truly feel. So a lot of people find it's easier to express themselves in writing, so able to write down their true emotions. It gives them the time to consider how it's coming across, what their true emotions are, and it's able to communicate that better with whoever they're speaking to. That's always an option as well if you're wanting to speak to someone about something that you're experiencing or an issue, and you want to reach out to a friend or family member, but you don't really know how to say it. You can take the time to consider putting it in writing. As I sort of mentioned a minute ago, a simple message can be able to brighten up someone's day, and given the kind of situation when everyone's quite stressed and isolated, it might just be what they're looking for right there. Voice calling and video calling, as I mentioned, has become very, very popular, both on the social aspect and in the professional side of things as well. It's more engaging and natural. Being able to see someone's face or hear their voice allows you to communicate better, so you can pick up on their tone of voice, facial expressions, so you can read the conversation a lot easier. So it avoids complications like you would have with messaging or emails, where things could be misunderstood when you're on the phone or talking a video call. It's much easier to understand and kind of get the point. Nice to see people, of course. Nice to see people's faces, friends and loved ones, if you can speak to them. So that's always a positive, as opposed to the sort of faceless messaging. It's also easier a lot for less tech savvy people. Now, I myself have some grandparents who wouldn't necessarily be that good at WhatsApping me or sending a message or over Facebook or anything like that. So for them, they much prefer just to pick up the phone. But I've also managed to recently explain how to FaceTime and use video call, which is very easy for them because it's as simple as a couple of buttons. It's not as fiddly as having to write out a long message each time when messaging. So that's always a good point, and it allows you to keep those sorts of people easier. It's good for longer conversations, so it depends what you're looking for. As I mentioned with the messaging, you can send a message and you don't necessarily have to respond to a response straight away. You can draw a conversation out over a couple of days, perhaps. But if you want to have that conversation, it needs to happen now, or you just want that sort of social interaction, it's much better a voice call or a video call for a longer conversation, and you can go back and forth in an active conversation. You're also able to have group chats, so there's various apps out there. I've put some links in the presentation that you get to access afterwards, which will give you some advice on that. But there's various group chat apps which you can use, which is very handy if you want to have a family chat or a group chat with your friends in terms of maintaining that dynamic. It can be quite good to remind yourself of those social dynamics when we eventually get out of this, and also it's quite good fun. Yes, so voice calling and video calling is excellent for work purposes as well, for all of the above really. So you can have the group chats with colleagues. It's also much easier to understand what people are trying to convey. So if there's an issue that you're discussing, rather than messaging back and forth, which can be time consuming, you can just jump on a call and have that conversation. Social media, so the social media side of things, it can be a good source of positivity, although controversial, like we said. It can also be a source of quite a lot of negativity. But it's just a case of taking that how you how you personally feel. If you're finding that you're just feeling a bit negative after you expose yourself to social media, and you see a lot of negativity, then try to reduce the amount of time you spend on it. However, like I said, it can be a good source of positivity, funny videos, celebrations of positive things. Also as well, you get to see, you're exposed to far more positivity from people who may be further afield, who you might not necessarily speak to. So it can be a good source. You yourself, obviously, as a result of using social media, are able to share those positive moments or funny things with friends and family and friends. So you yourself can become a source of things that might brighten up people's day. So always bear that in mind. Too much social media could be counterproductive in the sense that it might be bring more negativity rather than positivity, but it's a case of that as you go. If you feel like you're not benefiting much from it, reduce using. A general rule of thumb across all aspects, really, when communicating with people, is to be engaging. Make sure you're listening to the person you're speaking to. It happens all too often where people are distracted. You might be trying to have a conversation with them, and they might just be giving you one-word answers or a grunt, just to kind of maintain that they're listening to you when they're really not. I often feel like you're talking to a brick wall if people aren't listening to you. Also, don't be that person as well. So don't let yourself be distracted whilst talking. It makes the experience not as good. It takes away from it. It makes people less inclined to speak with you as you would be with them if every time you spoke to them they didn't really give you the time of day. So being engaged, listening to each other makes it an enjoyable experience for both parties, or all parties if it's a group chat as well. Of course, having time for yourself. Now, given the current situation with COVID-19, you do need to take time for yourself, because there will probably be an increased amount of social communications, or you might just want to have that time to sort of collect your own thoughts. So take your time to respond to social messages. You don't necessarily need to rush to respond to people. And if you do feel like you're under pressure to respond, it may create what could be an enjoyable scenario and experience into something of a point of stress or resentment. So always try and manage the money you need, and don't let that social commitment overtake your well-being. So there's a couple of useful links for more information, which you can access when this webinar recording is uploaded. So it will be uploaded about an hour after I finish, which you'll be able to have access to through the Lifestyle website, which I'll explain more about in a second. So I would hope most of you already know about Care First and who we are, but for those who don't, so Care First are a professional counselling and information and advice service offering support for issues across home and work. For any issues, whether that might be home life or something from work, you can call. We're sort of the same at the moment, lots of people working from home, but please do be aware that it covers both topics. The counselling helpline is available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So if you feel like you need to speak with someone, you can of course call the number, which will be available to you through your HR department or on the Lifestyle website. When you call the number, you'll be connected with a trained counsellor straight away. You'll be given support in the moment, so you'll have a conversation, an initial conversation with a counsellor, and that will then give the counsellor a chance to have that conversation with you, establish maybe a best way of moving forward, whether additional sessions will be required, and whether you need to go on to contracted telephone counselling, which means that you'll have a counselling session with the same counsellor for a period of time to discuss any issues that you have presented to. Of course, other stresses can arise from other issues such as employment or legal issues or anything like that. So we also have information specialist services. So its availability is slightly different. So it's 8 AM to 8 PM Monday to Friday. You can call our information specialist number from the Lifestyle website, and you'll be put through to one of our information specialists who will train in Citizen Advice Bureau. So they'll be able to help you with any issues and questions you may have, which will give you back that control when dealing with an issue and alleviate some stresses. Of course, as well, there's online counselling on the Lifestyle website, which you can access. So you can go onto an online chat with a counsellor on the Lifestyle website. The Lifestyle website will also contain a huge range of material and information which you can use to read, which might help you in your current situation. It's a great source of reference as well. So please do bear that in mind. There's also a section for management consulting and advice. So if you're a manager or in a leadership role at all, you can access management help there. So whether that's in the case of having a difficult conversation with a member of staff, or whether there's been a bereavement in the workplace, or whether it's even just being able to build a rapport with the staff, there's information there. So the service is strictly confidential, so we won't share any information that will identify you with any third parties or your organisation. So if you do call, it's all strictly confidential. Of course, there is a time where it would be broken, but those are in exceptional circumstances. And those circumstances are threat to life of another person, child protection and vulnerable adult issues, or risk to security of the organisation. Only if any of those have come up, then we would maybe break the confidentiality. So that's the end of the webinar for today. So thank you very much for attending. If you do have any questions after this, then please do drop an email to the email address displayed on your screen. The contact number for your counselling will be available through your HR department, along with Lifestyle login credentials for the company and organisation, which will give you a good opportunity to log into Lifestyle and explore the information on there. I'll go through some questions now if there are any, and bear with me a moment whilst I just. Okay, so we've had a question through. So if you had telephone counselling during lockdown and find that it wasn't as helpful due to the current situation and the surroundings, are you able to request counselling again? So yes, so currently obviously we can't issue or provide face-to-face counselling, for example, and obviously we're very, very busy with telephone lines, so face-to-face counselling has to take a bit of a back. So in this scenario, we can't offer that. However, once the COVID-19 issue has finished, hopefully, which might be a little while yet, then of course we can revisit. But that will be down to the counsellors as well once having that conversation. You know, obviously as well, call the line anyway for in the moment support, and then if the counsellor believes that extra sessions would be required for you, then you can get onto it from there as well. So hopefully that answers your question. But if not, if you wanted a different answer or anything like that, please do email info@carefirst.co.uk. Great, thanks very much. Okay, has anybody else got any more questions? Okay, are there going to be any mental health webinars from Care First for next week, as it's Mental Health Awareness Week? Of course. So we will be sending more information and articles and webinar schedule out to various HR departments, our main contacts for your organisation, who will then share that out with you, whether that's a print app or they circulate it by email, I'm not sure. However, we're going to have a webinar every day next week, along with articles as well, which will help, which is going to be relevant to the Mental Health Awareness Week. How do the furloughed colleagues contact Care First if they can't access the Wellbeing app in My Perks? Thanks. So you should be able to contact your HR department, who will be able to give you your login details for your lifestyle website, or the contact number for the counselling. Just because you're on being furloughed doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to access that. They should be more than willing to give that to you. Failing that, if they can't do that, please do drop us an email, and we can get back to you with your login details. Yeah, GIFs are a great way of sending messages and good fun at the same time. That's true. I do like that. A lot of those go back and forth between friend groups and family, so it's always quite good fun. I think I've answered all your questions. Has anybody got any more questions to come through? No. Well, thank you all for your time today anyway. As I mentioned, if you have any questions that I haven't answered, or you think of after this, then please do email in. If you want to get onto the lifestyle website, please get in touch with your HR department, and they'll be able to give you your login details for the company, and you can go from there. Okay, well, all the best, stay safe, take care.